Back to this unprecedented live event on Facebook today on the Harry Chapin Foundation page. Tell your friends about it. Tell fans of Harry Chapin in case they've lost touch with us. It's been a long time, we know that, but there's still so much good work in his name that is going on. And of course, Dan Christian is a high school teacher, and we're bringing you all kinds of interesting people today. The family of Harry Chapin, of course, people like Bill Ayers, his partner, Harry Belafonte coming up, who of course fronted the tribute to him at Carnegie Hall. But Dan, your story, because there's a certain literary part to Harry's life. When you read his work and you read his lyrics, this was a very scholarly guy in his own way. And when you heard him and his use of the spoken word, he had just an incredible command of the English language. That had to impress you, given what you teach on the high school level.
No, absolutely. I mean, he's sort of the quintessential storyteller. And so we were able to weave his music into, particularly my Dante class. It was pretty seamless.
Now, Dante, for those of us who've been a little bit, late for the lecture, or that we've been out of school for a while, help us to understand Dante's work in relation to Harry Chapin. Put that together for us.
Well, what we have been doing, and we pretty much started this back in the mid-'80s and more formalized it in around 2005, 2006, and it varies from year to year. But what we did particularly in 2006 was the kids had the following responsibility. I gave them 4 of Harry's songs to listen to over the course of the semester, and their job was to write an essay arguing how a particular person in Harry's story or in Dante's story would have benefited from listening to that particular piece by Harry Chapin. And it's a blast.
Go on. And what happened?
So what happened that particular year, we had a group of seniors that were just, most of these kids had never heard of Harry Chapin before. I mean, this is 2006. And they would be listening to Harry's music in the senior room, and they'd often, probably 5 or 6 times, would come up to my office and, Mr. Christian, we were listening to Harry in the senior room, and we want to talk. And so we would get a chance to talk about Harry's story. They really liked There Only Was One Choice, which is like Don McLean times 10. Right, because it takes American Pie and just kind of, just broadens it. So we were able then to actually, I collected 8 of the best papers that year. We turned it into a Dante Harry Chapin anthology, and then the copies were sold. We sold about 100 copies with the money, half the money going to the foundation and half the money going to the Dante Society of America.
And what did people think? I mean, what did other teachers in your school think about the way you were juxtaposing one to the other?
Well, I mean, we have a pretty nice group of colleagues. The phrase that I learned in 1990 at a Dante course I took at the University of Vermont was a phrase called celestial cross-pollination. And when things start to intersect in meaningful ways. So the kind of cool thing in terms, some of my colleagues knew it, but what ultimately happens is that every time some kind of conversation we have about Dante, something Harry has said or sung has been a springboard to advance that conversation. Almost daily.
Which song of all the songs that he wrote really best allows you to teach the lessons that you're trying to teach to your kids and to bring Dante into it?
That's a great question. And the 4 songs are A Better Place to Be, Mr. Tanner, Tangled Up Puppet, and There Only Was One Choice. And without a doubt, every year, the kids' response to Mr. Tanner, after we listen to or we read the section in Dante's Purgatorio about the essence of what constitutes true humility, Mr. Tanner, after coming back from New York, is again a wonderful illustration of what Dante was trying to explain, talking about humility.
Well, Dan Christian, brilliant in terms of the way that you put all of this together. And I'm sure that you are a great teacher, and your students are very fortunate to have you. And thank you for being with us today. Thank you.
I appreciate it. We're very, very welcome. It's my pleasure and honor.
And I've got to tell you that when you think about what it is that he's done and how creative people have been to bring Harry into their lives, whether it's musically into their and what ASCAP has done, or whether it's the way people have taken on philanthropic efforts in Harry's name. It's absolutely remarkable. It really is. Now, we want you to get involved with Harry today, and the best way to do that, in addition to sending us your comments or doing whatever you can in your own local community to support so many worthy organizations that Harry would have applauded you for, that related to community education, arts, or hunger and agriculture. All of these issues are things that Harry cared so deeply about. But today, why don't you take the opportunity to support the Harry Chapin Foundation as part of what we're doing? And we've got a limited edition print, a photo of Harry's original typewriter with the original draft of Taxi lyrics. Now, there aren't that many of them, and they are now available at betterplacetobe.org, and the level of gift necessary for you to get this is $35. So there you see Harry Chapin, keep the change, and you even get the mark out. So maybe you can see underneath that to see what lyrics Harry was thinking about that he finally ultimately. Well, coming up in just a couple of moments, a very interesting man and somebody who I have some history with as we were putting together for PBS a tribute to Harry Chapin back in the early 90s. I look forward to seeing him again. Charlie Sanders will join us in just a moment. Why don't you join us right now? betterplacetobe.org.